Reusse Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold, investment consultant, Mr. Money Talk. Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers in a couple of nights, Pat.
I think there's a very good. In fact, they might have already done it. They did 12 million for Caitlin the other night. I think that game will have a much bigger rating than anything the men do, don't you, in this tournament here? Because the men's tournament isn't that compelling. There's not, you don't. Even if Duke was in it, you don't hate him like you used to, so you can't watch
Yeah.
that. And
So the Duke NC State game did 15 million. The
did
LSU
they?
Iowa game did 12. So to this point,
Yeah.
the Duke game is still, I think, the most watched game. But yeah, you
Okay,
might be
but
right.
it's a now Friday night. Does that make a difference? Is Friday night a good viewing night?
No,
That could hurt them
it's not a
some.
good
I mean,
one.
why? When did they start? They had the women for years playing Sunday, Tuesday,
Hmm.
and the men had played Saturday, Monday. Why? I wonder why they moved it to Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I don't
I
know.
guess
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they want the women on Sunday, right? So then have it that be the championship game. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, as far as Minnesota, it's got to blow the doors off because everybody watches Caitlin, and then you got Paige back from two serious knee injuries. We often forget she was the player of the year when she was a freshman, and that would have been when she would be a senior now too, right? Wouldn't she, Beckers, if she hadn't gotten hurt
I think you're
twice?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's got a year left. So was Caitlin a freshman the same year, right? I think,
I
wasn't she?
believe. Yeah, I believe that's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
So and Paige was the phenomenon. Now Paige had the misfortune of coming up here for the NCAA Final Four and running into those mean, mean, nasty South Carolina guards when they were. They're unbeaten this year, but they're not as good as they were when they came here with that team. And they had that. Remember that little 5'4" guard who was just nastier than hell and climbed on top of our poor little Paige and knocked her all over the court. And Paige had a clunker that night, and South Carolina took them apart. But she's playing great now, man. It would, I thought it was certainly worth it tanking for Caitlin last year, and Coach Reeve had a perfect opportunity when they started 0-6 and didn't. But you wonder if they'd tanked and they'd had the number two choice if Paige would have come out and because he could come home and play, right?
Yeah.
Or should you tank next year and try to get Paige?
Oh yeah.
The answer is yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yes, one of
100%.
the two. But yeah, I'm gonna be home Friday night and watch the game. So appointment watching for women's basketball is I've come a long way since I referred to it as tiptoed ball throwing in 1991. It's not
It's
tiptoed.
been a 35-year journey for Pat.
Yes,
Yes, to get to
but
Friday night.
let me say this: it's not even Caitlin's game the other night. Phenomenal that she was against LSU. Hasn't been her normal game like the last 3 weeks. We saw her here she had two games here in the Big Ten tournament. She started 0 for 11 on her threes in one of those and 0 for 9 in the other. Now, in the championship game against Nebraska, she had a tough time, but then when they were 7 down with what, under 2 minutes to go, right? 2 minutes to go, she just did about three things and got teammates involved. But the great thing about her is the way she gets teammates involved. It's this is not just okay. I'm shooting 23s, but I'm also going to get 12 assists. And nice open court. The what impresses me as much as anything, obviously her shooting range is one, but two is in the open court. She sees everything. She's incredible. And Beckers is playing for a UConn team that has missing five players. They
Yeah,
they
it's
they
crazy.
they got like the fifth best team in the country not playing.
Yeah.
So because he's had times when he was just dominating everything, and before South Carolina came along and Mulkey came along, and that he's had like 8 of the 12 best players in the country, Everybody just went to UConn, and his second team would have, might have been to the Final Four. Well, maybe he's got the same depth this year, but he doesn't have 5 of those players. It'll be interesting because Caitlin, when she's like this, they say, "How do you beat that?" Well, yeah, how do you beat that when she's on a night when she's making all those 31 footers? But when she's missing them, she almost got beat here by Nebraska, and they had a 33-11 lead in the first round here before she made a shot, and then it got down to 5 or 6 points because she had one of her bad nights. But when she has a good night, she's fun to watch.
Isn't Iowa's record too, Pat? I think they're better when Caitlin doesn't drop 40. Like if she drops 40 or more, I think their record is not as successful as when she drops 20 to 30 points when her teammates are involved and her assists are up and all that stuff too. I mean,
Yeah.
she can go off and she'll still win the
Yeah.
majority of games if she scores 40 points. But I believe there's a stat where they're even better when she doesn't drop 40
Yeah,
points. in a game.
and yes, the other day, a couple of days, it wasn't. I mean, she shot 4 free throws in the last 20 seconds or 30 seconds, so it was more like a little old average 36-point game, something like that, until she got those. But the first time I ever saw her, and I've talked about it, was when she was playing at Michigan, and she was shooting like she did the other night, and she got 46 that night, and they got beat by Michigan because they weren't as good. That was the team from 2 years ago, but that's kind of, she was on national TV that day, and that kind of caught the flame there. But yeah, it's now certainly this is not, the people are trying to somehow make the women's tournament is much more interesting than the men's tournament. Well, it is right now, that's for sure. But
Absolutely.
yeah, week after week, the first, and it's not really the first weekend because as I've said before, the better seeds went 31-1 in the first round, and now one advantage being they get to play on their home court too. When did we stop giving the men that advantage? 20
Oh
years ago.
man, it's
20
been
years ago, a little more
ages
than
ago.
that.
I think it's like
But
early '90s. Yeah, it's been a long time.
But UCLA, when they had the dynasty way back then, never had to leave Pauley Pavilion until
Well,
they got to the tournament.
When Clem took the Gophers to the tournament for the first time, that first round was at a neutral site, right? And that's 89ish.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
So
guess
it's been 30 some odd.
30 years. Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it was in Greensboro, I think.
Yeah.
When Clem went the first time, and then he got lucky down there because Duke was there, and they ended up playing Duke in the Sweet 16, but he got like he won the opener, and then Siena beat Stanford, right?
Yep.
Siena beat Stanford.
Yep.
So he was Kansas. He beat Lon Krager and Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
He was an 11 and they were a 6. And then Stanford wasn't there because they got beat. Todd Lichty and that crew, I think, wasn't it the Todd Lichty team? And they and they got beat by Siena. So then Clem beat the doors off Siena in the second round. So that's the way that works. But yeah,
someone posted that full game against Duke, by the way, on I think I saw it on YouTube over the weekend on the anniversary of it. It's amazing. The Gophers had all these like Kevin Lynch is on that team, but then Duke had freshman Christian Laettner. They had Danny Ferry. It's the recognizable players. Mike Krzyzewski, looking like he's about 31 years old.
Now, I thought, when was I talking to? When Grant Hill was a freshman, I thought the Gophers were at the same region as them when Grant Hill was a freshman, and Christian, and they'd become the rock stars of college basketball. But maybe
Christian was older than Grant Hill, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah,
because that's when somebody asked Grant Hill about Christian, you get off the bus and all the girls are off there shrieking when Christian gets off and he says, "Girls, Christian,
Yeah.
really?" And then he said, "No, I'm joking. I'm joking."
That SI story that
Yeah.
came out, that I think there was a backup on that team. Was it Mike Davis?
No, Davis the guy was a starter that was his pal.
Yeah. And there was an SI story. It was very
Yeah,
interesting.
yes, but Hill was also an even as a freshman, he was much more clever and interesting as a freshman in college than he is now. I mean, he's okay, fine as a broadcaster, but he was a character back then, and he liked to agitate, and he knew how damn good he was, and that was good. But
Hey, I have just back to Paige and Caitlin for a second. I know the numbers would say, obviously, Caitlin Clark is breaking all these records and she's, dropping 35, 40 points. Her numbers and her box scores are more gaudy. Do you think Paige Bueckers is the better player? Is that a hot take?
I think that's a hot take. Yeah, I think Caitlin is more dynamic, but and can take over games. But it's close. It's close. And Beckers is a little taller than her, isn't she? Little. She plays taller anyway. And
Caitlin shoots about 9 extra shots per game.
God, yes, yeah, she does. And the other thing is, even with what has happened with that Iowa team, Paige Bueckers is always playing with better players than Caitlin Clark is. This is not this Iowa team is not as good as last year. I don't think the kid in the middle doesn't catch the ball like Zanano did, and the big kid from Watertown here, Zanano. She'd put you, on her back, and then she'd make that little bounce pass, and she'd catch it every time and turn and score. She doesn't have that player this year. Oh, but she doesn't have good. Martin's a good player, and Gabby Murphy can shoot the three, and they're okay, but they're not as good as they were last year. But I don't think LSU certainly wasn't as good as they were last year, and I don't know if South Carolina's unbeaten, but they've had some close games. Who I don't know who I'm picking on Friday night though. I think UConn might beat them.
What's the line right now? Let's see here.
I bet it's Iowa by 2.5 or something like that. I would guess.
Let's see here.
I haven't looked, by the way. I'm just guessing here.
It's a pretty good guess. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, they're making me turn off my ad blocker.
I thought another reason might be because there'd be more Iowa bettors too. I mean, by nature, there's going to be more Iowa bettors, which could change. Is
there like a Caitlin Clark tax on the line? You have to pay.
Sure. It's kind of like the Cowboys tax and the 49ers tax you used to pay.
Wow, minus 2.5. Pat still got it.
I was at
Iowa minus 2.5. Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty close to what I said, I guess.
That's pretty much exactly what you said.
Yes,
What's amazing with all this is I know South Carolina might not be it's not the most dominant South Carolina team we've seen, but they haven't lost a game all year. It's amazing how they're just kind of like the nondescript team going through this,
You don't think the coach is mentioning that to her hard-nosed, nasty team? Everybody all they care about it.
No one's talking about
Dawn's loving this. I guarantee.
Dawn Staley is. Yeah, she got an edge to her, man.
Oh,
listen, on the other side, Gino has won. What is he up to? Like 12 titles or
11.
something?
I thought it was 11, but it might be
11. But he hasn't won one this would be the 9th year.
Wow.
If they don't win one. 2015-16 was the last time.
And his first ever was here, Target Center in 95 or so.
Lobo, right?
Yeah, Lobo, and also that that 6'8" girl, Walters, was it Walters? I went out. I was out there 2-3 days during January or February, hanging around them, and the hatred between Calhoun and Gino was wonderful because Calhoun is just this surly old bastard, and he just couldn't stand all the publicity Gino got for dominating women's basketball. You'd talk to him and I would just seethe out of him, but he wouldn't quite say it, but you could see how much he disliked him, two raving egos. But Gino's become the grand old man now of
Yes.
women's college basketball. So
Grandfather.
He's
now, you're
70
right.
years old now, man. He's 70.
70. Wow, he is. An interesting characteristic about all this too is that women coaches are kind of taking over the game to a degree. But the higher number of women's coaches with the prominent program, and there's still the guy down in Iowa State has been there for 100 years and still hangs on. But the women coaches are becoming more prominent and probably having a easier time to recruit. I mean, Gino used to just get everybody automatically. They all went to UConn, and I don't think that's certainly not the case anymore.
Yeah. Hey, give us a Timberwolves take before we say goodbye here, Pat.
I was watching the last couple. I've been thinking, it's a different thing for Minnesotans watching the Timberwolves and for them themselves when there's pressure on you to win every night.
Yeah.
It was like a crisis when they lost to Chicago. How could they lose to Chicago? And then you're watching that game last night and they're down and you say, man, they got to win this game. It'll be a 2-game losing streak. It's like crazy. A completely different vibe when the goal is to make the playoffs or make the play-in tournament. Then and then your goal becomes finish with the highest possible seed. The pressure level and the intensity you got to get out of your players and the number of minutes you have to use your players. It's hard work being good,
I said, Pat, this is I think that this is the highest expectation team in town here since the 09 Vikings.
Right now?
Yeah, because like the 2019 Twins sort of crept up. The 17 Vikings with Case was never an expectation of like great success consistently.
No.
I think what you're talking about, the last time that we had that, I think was the Favre 09 Vikings.
You're probably correct. Now that certainly our Wild have never had that where we said, boy, no. I think they're gonna, if they just play to their maximum, they're gonna win the cup. We've never had that.
Yeah.
And that's probably true. It
is kind of crazy that if this team plays to its maximum, they get to the NBA Finals. Because I think this team at its best is better than Denver.
Ooh, that depends upon the big lug, though. I mean, if he's, the good thing is Denver's. It depends on Jokic. I mean, if the Denver's doing the same thing, though. They want the 1 seed, so he's got to play a lot. But I don't know. What would you do with Ant here? Ant needs a little blow, doesn't he? He needs a little.
Yeah, Judd has a good theory on this. So he hasn't made a 3-pointer in a week, and after the game last night, he was saying, "I know what the problem is," and I agree with Judd's theory is because after that dunk against the Jazz, he dislocated his non-shooting.
Yes.
He's got like fingers taped together on his guide hand, and his shot is just flat and hitting the front of the rim. He said he knows what the problem is, and that by the time the playoffs get here. He said that bleep is going to be butter by the time the playoffs get here. So he's very confident.
His quotes are always interesting, like they come from another planet. But
right.
But tonight against the Raptors, who are doing their damnedest to get beat every night, they're on full tank mode. This should be a 20-minute game for him tonight, don't you think? This should be let him take a breather.
They should actually sit him tonight, but there's zero chance he's gonna opt to sit him.
And they got two rough road games coming up too. So Lakers and who's the other? The Lakers and the Suns.
They still have Suns, Lakers. I think Nuggets again on the road.
What do you think? I don't want to play the Suns in the first round. I'd play the Lakers way before I'd play the Suns in the first round.
The Lakers make me
Come on, guys. Come on.
Listen, first of all, I think they beat anyone in the first round, but the Lakers have Anthony Davis playing at his best. LeBron is kind of saving some gas for the playoffs.
We have a breaking NFL news trade that just went down.
Does it involve the Minnesota Vikings?
Doesn't involve a Vikings current player. It involves a former player, Stefon Diggs, going to the Texans for draft pick compensation. I don't know the trades yet, but Diggs is going to the Houston Texans.
Hey, you knew they wanted him out, didn't you? Yeah. With his pouting last year.
His cryptic tweets have been A+ the last month, by the way.
Didn't he take himself off he didn't, not off Twitter, but he did something. He emptied out the locker or something. Didn't he do something goofy?
I think he deleted. He changed his bio on Twitter to have no references to the Bills.
Yeah, they'll. So this will make them. They don't draft very high, so it doesn't make any difference. But they'll have to get a wide receiver in there. But Stefon has proved that he can. What is he now? 32. Something like that.
Is he that old? Is he?
Well, I don't know.
Came in 15, right? 2015?
30. Yeah. He's 30. He's 30.
Okay. Well, he didn't have a real good year last year, and he was pouting it several times. So he's, they can't complain. They got 5-6 good years out of him, right? Wasn't it after 19? So they got 5 years out of him, right? No. What year?
20.
20 was the first year. 20, so they got 3. They got 4 good years out of him. They got some good drama.
Spielman's finest moment, though, was that trade now.
And we got Justin Jefferson. So what the heck, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that
for now? But this is it. Like all these, I just want to say, I think they re-signed Jefferson, but all these people who are like, there's no way, this and that, the other. Okay. Stefon Diggs just got traded for the second time. Yeah. Devontae Adams got traded. DJ Moore got traded. The Vikings have traded Randy Moss, Stefon Diggs, Percy Harvin.
And here's the deal. Here's the deal. Will we go nuts and start calling out cheap Ziggy if they let Justin Jefferson go? The cheap Wilfs. Is that going to become a popular hashtag around here? The cheap Wilfs. We'll find out.
No, they're kind of untouchable, I feel like.
By the way, we've only seen our Twins for 4 games. But
what do you think?
I think that the starting rotation is a disgrace. That's what I think. It's a disgrace that they're trying to get to the finish line with this collection, and it's not going to come close to making it.
Well, it's kind of a disgrace that they got to the starting line with this collection.
Yeah, yes, it is. It is. And now, anybody, if you bring in somebody who's still floating around, it's going to take them a month to get ready to pitch. It's, they're not hitting now. But they might hit, but you got no chance with this starting rotation. None. Yeah. So
Pablo and Joe, and pray for a lot of rain, Pat.
Yeah, and hope Joe doesn't have the 6-week period when every other pitch is a home run, too, like last year.
Well, if you get hurt, tell the team.
Yeah, that's true.
That might help Joe's case.
Yeah.
Hey,
unfortunately, we got too many guys telling the team. That's the problem,
Too many guys, but
too many other guys telling.
Hey, we got to go, but I need to throw this one last thing. So Stefon Diggs, this is apparently from last night. So RG3 put a clip of his podcast out saying, "Is Stefon Diggs essential to Josh Allen's success?" And it's kind of a debate about how good would Josh Allen be without Diggs. And someone comments, does Josh Allen benefit from having a top-tier receiver? Yes. Is the top-tier receiver essential to Josh Allen's success? No. Stefon Diggs replies, you sure?
Hey, RG3 is the part of a popular podcast, isn't he? He gets a lot of attention. He's a very candid talker, so that's good.
He's doing his thing, yeah. All right, Pat, we'll talk to you again. Speaking of candid talkers, we'll bring you on again tomorrow to do some more candid talking.
See you later.
All right, Reusse Unchained here on Score North.